How's everybody doing? Good. All right. Any questions you may have?
So what's the process of getting a veteran kicker going? Is it a pretty easy process to kind of give everybody acclimated just because he's been around for so long?
What's the question?
Getting McManus integrated, is it an easier situation just because he's been around so long? Or is it a process just because he is?
It's still a process, but I think the thing that's a little bit different about having a guy that's played as long as he's played, he's very particular, knows exactly what he wants, and so that's a big help, certainly to the holder and the snapper. But it's been good work yesterday. It was good work again today. He'll kick again tomorrow. He kicked yesterday, and he kicked certainly in the workout the day before. So we'll expect him to be ready to go. I know he expects to be ready to go.
What do you like about him?
I mean, what's not to like? You know, he's got a lot of skins on the wall. He's been in a lot of pressure situations. He's had kicks in the Super Bowl. He's played in cold weather. He's played in hot weather. So he's had a lot of experiences kicking in a lot of different climates, in a lot of different places. And, you know, he's been successful for a long time. So we're glad we got him right now.
You think you'll get him in the stadium tomorrow or Saturday?
No, I don't think he doesn't feel like he needs to be in there. He's been in there before, and we have great grass here. So I think he's expecting to get his kicks again tomorrow like he did yesterday in our field, which is very similar to the game field in Lambeau.
Rich, when you heard that it was being done this week with Brandon Cumming, did you watch film on him, or did you just kind of wait till he got here to kind of start analyzing and breaking?
Well, I've played against him, you know, with the Raiders. We played against him twice a year for the 4 years I was there, and I'd played against him before, and I was in Dallas as well. So we've had a respectful relationship going over the last, you know, certainly last 7, 8 years going against him. So we really didn't have to watch film on him. We knew what he did last year because of what was going on, you know, prior in the offseason. A lot of guys became free agents, so we looked at a lot of people. We just kind of went off of the workout, you know, wanted to see if he'd been working out and what he'd look like because of the period of time that he'd been off. So we had a good workout.
He had a big leg back in his heyday. Do you have any gauge if he's still got that difference-making leg?
He does. I don't think he has a problem with the leg. He warmed up pretty good in the work before the workout and had a really good workout. It was indoors, but he endured the wind that we had yesterday, and so we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I still think he has plenty of leg.
Rich, with McDuffie playing more defense, what do you think of what Hopper has given you on some of your units?
Yeah, Hop's really, you know, he's starting to show up, especially on the kickoff team. He's made some plays now, and he's been taken care of a little bit because other guys have shown up earlier and started to get doubled, and he's been singled a little bit and made 3 really good plays last week. He was our player of the week last week. So, and he's really playing well on punt return. He had a good block on punt return on Keyshawn's return last week, which usually doesn't get seen. So he's on the come. You know, he's practicing really well. He's playing really well for us in games. Hopefully he just keeps improving.
I know Keyshawn didn't really have a choice, but is there some sort of punishment for being tackled by a punter?
Well, there's maybe a joke or two in the meeting room, you know, but the punter had good leverage on him. Actually did a heck of a job. He got up, you know, Kobe had a hell of a block on him, knocked him down, and he got up and got Keyshawn on the boundary. So hopefully we'll do a little bit better with it next time.
What did you think of just that return, though? I mean, I think that was the longest of his career to this point, being able to kind of break that there. And kind of.
Well, I thought the one in Detroit, maybe last year or 2 years ago, was a little bit longer. But, you know, he did a good job getting the edge for us, and I thought the guys up front did a really good job of changing the line of scrimmage, which forced them to be a little bit late getting out. I know our hold-up guys, Corey Ballantyne, did a heck of a job forcing the guy inside and giving him the edge. And then, you know, when he hit that next gear, I mean, he did a heck of a job going down the boundary. So hopefully some of those things will continue.
What's the trade-off with having Jayden Reed back there and then the potential for injury? I know you could get injured on any play, you know, in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we don't think about it injury-wise. They can get injury whatever they're doing, you know. The guys can get injured in practice, but they're both really capable. They're both really good. The decision-making process has been good for both of them. We like really Jay Reed at different times because he plays a lot of offense, and we like Keyshawn at different times because he's playing a lot of defense. So we feel fortunate to have them both, as well as some of those other guys that we work in practice.
Have you seen Keyshawn develop with his hands as he's gotten more opportunities to field punts over the past couple of years?
I think Keyshawn has tremendous eye-hand coordination. He's got great hands. I think where he's really matured is his decision-making process, you know, when to take it, when not to, when to fair catch, when not to, when to take it out, when not to take it out. I think some of those things can be developed over time as far as the decision-making process. But his ability to catch the ball, whether he's at receiver or whether he's playing in the return game or whether he's playing DB, he's got tremendous hands.
What are the
generic rules you tell a guy like that who, I mean, I imagine you want him to get every return opportunity he can because he's so dynamic with the ball, but still being smart about it. What do you tell a guy like that?
Well, part of it is, I don't tell him too much, I don't want to take away who he is, but also know what we're doing. Are we rushing? Is the return set up? Where are we on the field? Where are we in the game? What's the wind condition like? Is it going to be a deep one? Is it going to be short? Where do you line up? So I think there's a lot of things going into the process of whether you're going to actually take a shot at it or not. And those guys that are really good, both him and Jay Reed, they both peek. They're going to take a look outside and see if the flyer has been handled or if the guy is free to kind of help them with their decision-making process. So there's a little bit of a criteria as to when to do what, but sometimes you don't want to give them too much. You want to let them go out there and play ball.
Hey, Rich, going back to kicker, I'm curious, I was trying to go back through all your years in the NFL. Have there been many times where you've changed kickers during the course of the season? It looks like there were a few years where you had multiple kickers, but I don't know if that was performance-based or injury-based or what. Have you had to go through anything like this many times before?
The 3 years here has been a little unique, for me personally at that position. I can remember my first year in Tampa, we went through 3 snappers and all the way through the Super Bowl, 3 different snappers. I had never been through that in college. And now, we've kind of gone through the kicker rotation here, trying to get some younger guys and get some of them developed and put us in position to have one maybe for a long time. But now we're exactly where we are, and we'll deal with where we're at this particular time and see what we do going forward. But this has been unique, I'm sure, not only to me but to the organization, obviously having a kicker here for a long time.
And not specific to Brandon, but just the idea of having a veteran, like, it's Anders had never kicked in the NFL before, and neither had Braden. So how different is your role when you have a guy who, like you were saying earlier, kind of has his established what he likes to do, et cetera?
Well, yeah, again, I think, to the earlier question, he's very particular. He's been through a lot of different situations. He knows how he wants the ball held. He knows where he wants it placed. He's really confident in his time. He's confident in his alignment. So it's been, to some degree, a breath of fresh air, to know someone that exactly knows what they want to do. And it's also a comfort a little bit to Daniel. Now he's got to get used to the hold and how he wants the ball and how he wants it leaned and those things. But so there's a lot more snaps being placed, by Daniel than there are kicks being made over the course of the last 3 days. So
We always talk about kicker swings maybe a little bit like a golf swing. So he's basically been going to the driving range, right? He hasn't been kicking in games while he's been away for so long. Does it take a minute for him to get back into the regular swing of things, or don't you think that's necessary?
Well, he's obviously been kicking, and then that was the reason for the workout, to kind of see exactly where he was. And you're talking about someone that's got over 300 kicks, in the National Football League. So to some degree, he's kind of got the rhythm. He knows what it is. Now, it's incumbent on the 3 of us now, the snapper, the holder, and him, to kind of get enough good rhythm. So we're not slowed down the first time we kick or the first early times that we kick. So they've been at it pretty good without him kicking every one of them.
Have you found it takes time for the holder to get the ball exactly right, how the kicker wants it? I mean, Daniel had, like 4 or 5 kickers in camp that he had to adjust to. I mean, is it a quick adjustment, or can it take a little time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really think it's probably an advantage for Daniel to have been through all those different guys and hold it all these different ways. I mean, there's not an exorbitant amount of ways that the guy wants it held. It has to do sometimes with the wind, if they want it in or out or front or back. So I think it's been a little bit of an advantage to be able to deal with all those different guys wanting it different ways, and for him to do a good job with it. So he's really worked hard at that particular craft, and I think he's also got great eye-hand coordination. Does a hell of a job for us this year.
Does his kickoff style help at all? Because I saw he's like a 2-3 step kicker. That's pretty different. Is that
Yeah, he's always been a short approach guy, and because of the big leg that he has. So I think that's the thing. This is going to be his first time kicking off with the new rule. So we'll just see how that looks, come game day. But again, it's not an issue for him. His approach or his leg strength hasn't been an issue. So we'll see what it looks like on game day. These guys are going to hopefully give us some returns. I think they've given up 17 returns. I feel pretty good about their coverage unit, because they should. It's really good.
In practice, do you test his distance like you would before a game, or do you just do that at the day of the game?
As far as field goals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how far can You had from?
Yeah, I think he had a 9-play script away from the team yesterday with different distances, and then he had an 8-play team script with multiple pressure type situations, different distances and different kind of situations in games that we put him through yesterday. So he'll do that again tomorrow, and then he'll get his pregame set and be ready to play.
Hey, Rich, I was just looking at his numbers. So his percentage from 50+ is 54 and change. Is that what, as a coordinator who's done this a long time, what are you hoping for? What's realistic?
Well, did you look up his percentage 50 and in?
Yes,
It's pretty good. So, we'll have to wait and see what he feels like, what the wind conditions are in his pregame. But usually you come out of those pregame sets, a guy has a pretty good indication going to his right or to his left, what the distance will be, depending on the weather on that day. So I think that's what we'll kind of wait for that. But again, the kicks that have to be made in the National Football League are inside the 50. And obviously we've had our issues with that, and hopefully he can continue to play as well as his stats say, Good. Go Yanks.
Good. Still got nice weather outside. People lied about the weather here.
No, it didn't. It's coming.
It's beautiful out.
It's coming.
All right, what do we got?
I was talking to Evan Williams after the game about his fumble that he forced. And he mentioned the phrase "can't be 316." God loves those who run to the football. Is that original to this place, or is that like something that's followed him? You know where that's come from?
Well, we have that meeting about the ball every week, and each coach has, we've kind of picked a coach each week to kind of present to the whole team so it stays fresh and guys come up with some creative ways to have their meetings. And one of the things Camp came up with when he did one of the first ones is he said, God loves those who run to the football. So we said it's can't be 316. So he's probably just referring to that. That was one of the first meetings that we had. But it just goes back to talking about running to the ball constantly, and you're usually rewarded if you do. So I guess you can give Camp credit for his phrase that God loves those who run to the football. So I'm glad Evan remembered that. I'm glad Evan was there. It was a great punch. I mean, all joking aside, that was textbook. And you see that show up in practice time after time with him, and there's some guys that have a knack for it. We start every practice, the first 2 minutes of individual is all takeaways for us on defense, and a lot of that is teaching guys how to punch. I mean, it's no accident that it looked the way it did. It's how he's taught, he's embraced it, he practices it, and then it shows up in the game, and I'm confident with him it will show up over and over again because he's getting really good at it.
Hey, Jeff, so why was it important? Matt told us that it was your idea are they just called ball meetings? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, so we have team meetings, right? So Matt has a team meeting where he emphasizes the plan. Like early in the week, every coach is going to come out and it's going to be, here's the plan. This is what we need to do to win the game. And Matt does a great job every week. He lays it out, offense, defense, special teams. These are the things we must do if we're going to win the game, right? It's like the blueprint to how we're going to win it, and then we review it after the game, and usually if we follow it, we win the game. So I guess the meeting we have on Thursday, we call it the ball meeting. I mean, I didn't even think about it, but that's what we call it. There's not another name for it. If you want to come up with one, maybe you can let me know. But it's the ball meeting. Why was it important when I brought it up to him? You get what you emphasize, right? And I think what's always been really important to me philosophically is taking the ball away. And I don't think it happens by accident or by any luck. I think you gotta talk about it, you gotta be about it, and you have to go out and practice it. And then it's gonna show up in games, and then once they believe in it, it's gonna show up more and more. So when you get in front of the whole team and you constantly are talking about it each week and you're showing the team that it's not just talk. It's not like hearsay, like, hey, we're going to attack the ball and be good at taking away the ball. We've dedicated a whole meeting to it. When I was in San Francisco with the Niners, Kyle had me do that meeting every Thursday for 2 years. So it's something that I took a lot of pride in. It's something that I put a lot of time into, and I wanted to give a powerful message each week. Sometimes it got hard after a long season when you're just talking about the ball, but I think in those 2 years I've learned the importance of the ball. But I do think it is really important. I think our staff is taking great ownership in those meetings. And you also talk to the offensive players. It's not just talking about taking the ball away. It's showing the offensive players, these guys aren't holding it well. We can't look like that. Or there's times when we'll put up in front of the group, if I'm the Texans, I'm coming after you, here's why, and we'll show 3 clips of our guys not holding the ball well. Like, you're our targeted guys, we're going to get you, right? So that's pretty much it.
The reason I ask is, I think we found out from Malik, because he mentioned the ball meeting after the Tennessee game, because he was being asked about how good he'd been with protecting the ball. But everybody says they want to get takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there is a definite cause and effect of the get what you emphasize? Because every defensive coordinator always talks about them, but they don't necessarily get the results that you guys have got.
Yeah, but it's I see better than I hear, right? It's not, you can't just talk about it, and we're not just talking about it. We dedicated a meeting to the football, right? And then we go out and on the days where we can't thud up because we don't have pads on, everybody better finish with a punch on the ball. And if the ball's in the air, we better go attack it and go get it. And we find ways to disrupt the quarterback. And I think you get what you emphasize. You can't emphasize everything, right? It's impossible. So I guess a better way is, like, what are the most important things to you philosophically as a head coach, which Matt does an awesome job because he talks about the ball, and then we take it on defense. And I've said since day one, it is the football. I mean, that is everything. I mean, it's the number one determining factor on whether or not you're going to win or lose the game is taking care of the football. So how can we not emphasize that? And that's what we've done. We found ways to emphasize it as much as we can. But forget us coaches, the players are the ones who took the belief in it, they've practiced it, and they've gone out and executed it on the field. And again, it's not by luck. I mean, these are real punches, whether, it was the defensive tackle punching the ball out or our safety coming and punching the ball out, or it's all that stuff. So the ball meeting.
You overlap with Bobby Slowick.
I did.
Was it 1 year in San Francisco?
No, it was for 2 years.
What did you think of him then? And is he running some of the same stuff that maybe they did?
Bobby was on defense. Yeah, so it was Robert, and his dad, who I've gotten to know too, a phenomenal human, great coach. I've talked to him quite a bit. So on defense, it was Robert was the defense coordinator, D'Amico was the linebacker coach, and then Bobby was our quality control coach. And it was, Bobby and myself spent a lot of time together. I think the world of him as a person. A great friend, great family, hung out a ton, highly intelligent. I mean, probably could just as easily be a defensive coordinator. So it's no surprise to me that Kyle said, you know what, this guy's really smart. Because I left and went to Ohio State, and then he gives me a call and says, Kyle's stealing me on offense. So Kyle stole him on offense and taught him for a few years. So Bobby's got a great background on defense, and now he's an offensive coordinator. And he's done a great job, which doesn't surprise me. He's got a background on defense. He's got a background on offense. He was trained very well on defense. He was trained very well on offense. I could see him having a great relationship with the players. Just a genuine guy. And, he does a really nice job in the run game, in the pass game, and he's got really good players. So in a year and a half, in a short time, implementing his scheme, he's done a nice job. And I am really happy for him because he is one of the better guys.
Did he ever talk about growing up? He went to high school here. Did he ever talk about growing up?
Yeah, he talked about, I can't remember any specifics, but I knew he grew up here, and he's probably really excited to get back. So I'll be excited to see him before the game.
Jeff, Bullard obviously hasn't made the highlight reel plays that other guys have, but what does he do well besides, making those plays close to the ball like you've talked about to earn all the time he's gotten?
Bullard, he's versatile. He's really good around the football. He can play the run well. He has good coverage skills. He can play in deep zones. He can play man. I just think it's his versatility that allows us to do so much. And I still think, in all fairness to him, you know, we kind of shifted him around a little bit, which is hard for a rookie, like really hard, harder than anybody has any idea. He's playing two entirely different positions, and he hasn't practiced that one as much as he's practiced, you know, being further back as a true safety. So you got to give him a lot of credit for being able to transition. I don't know how many rookies could do that. I mean, first of all, it's hard to play as a rookie in this league, right? The guy's played two different positions already as a rookie, and he's done pretty well. I think the more that he can learn and the more experience he gets, I think you're going to see him move around even more. I mean, that's the whole thing about our defense right now. I mean, we got some of these young guys that give us the versatility to move people around and get creative. And as you start to see each week, if you turn us on and really watch us, there's something a little bit new every single week, right? And it's kind of talked about. We got to build and build and build and find out what we're good at, who's good at what, and then really start to roll. And I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still at the infancy stages of where we're going to be as a defense and what ultimately it's going to look like. But he is a key piece in all of that, like a key piece.
And we see a lot of personnel rotation in a secondary. Usually that position, DBs, you just kind of stay on the field with your best five and your nickel. How much of a challenge is it to work everyone in the way you did? You got multiple guys in the slot, perimeter, all over the place.
I think it takes time, and it takes getting to know your players, and it takes the players getting to understand the scheme. And I think that goes back to what I just said. You know, you start having these different packages of people so you can get guys in different roles, so you can create some mismatches, so you take advantage of situations, so you put yourself in better position to have success. I just think the more we go, the easier it's going to be. It takes detailing out by the coaches and the players, and we kind of just roll with it in the game. But the more competition there is, the more versatility is, I think we'll be better and better as we go.
Something that's newer for you? Have you done that in the past much, having different, nickel packages and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. I think this league's about matchups, right? And I think if you have guys that can play certain positions that gives you an advantage, then I think it's our job to coach it and get it done. And I think our staff's done a good job with that. I also think that as we go and we evolve within our scheme, I think we're starting to get a really good feel for that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's about adapting, right? I've kind of said this since I got here. It's not like, hey, here's the playbook. This is in. Go run the defense. It's each week, what did we look like? What do we look like when they watch us on tape? What can we do a little bit different to counter that? What do we do really well? Like, let's do more of it, make it look different. And then as we start to see certain players do certain things, how can we best use them to improve? We have to keep getting better. Like, that's the whole key to this whole entire thing as we go. So any way that we can adapt and get better, both coaching, playing, scheme, personnel, it's not just like plug and like let's evolve. And I think that's very important.
Jeff, was there a moment in a preseason game or in camp where you thought you might want to play Bullard more at nickel, or when you drafted him, because of his experience in college, you thought that maybe he could help you there?
When we drafted him, we knew we could do it. It was just a matter of not forcing two positions to a young player too soon. I think that'd be unfair, and I don't think it would have given him a chance to get on the field. I think if we had done that, we would have kind of slowed the progress of him. So that's why we kind of waited and got him really comfortable at one position where we felt like we could play him, rather than get half the reps here, and then it's like, is he ready to play? So that's why. But we felt very confident when we drafted him that he'd be able to do both. I think he can even do more than what we're doing with him. I just don't think that's fair to him yet. And I've told him that. Like, he's that type of guy where you got to be able to move him around. And I think you're going to see him play faster and faster every week.
Edgerrin Cooper, he played his most snaps last week after playing the most snaps the week before that. Is that a trend you can think is going to continue him playing more and more? And kind of what's allowed him to play such a larger role so far?
He's starting to understand what he's doing. He's practicing more. He's stayed healthy. He's practicing better. And he's proving to us and his teammates that he knows what he's doing and he can execute at a high level. And the more he does that and the better he plays, the more he'll play. And then he's another guy. When you watch his skill set, I think I think there's places that we can kind of put him in that are a little bit different too, because I think he has a unique skill set, and there's some things he can do on different downs and distances that I think he gives us a pretty good chance to have success. So again, you don't want to rush some of these rookies into having to learn too much, because then they're not going to be good, right? So you got to be careful there too.
So Jeff, you were just saying about Bullard playing safety as a rookie. So did something happen that the light went on for you that Evan Williams could be much more than maybe what you first thought when you drafted him, or what has allowed him to be able to do what he's done too?
With Evan? Evan is exactly who we thought we drafted. Smart player, good tackler, tough, a great communicator, plays well in deep zones. He has man coverage ability because he's so patient. He plays with such a good base. He's got great feet, eyes. He can finish with poise. No, it's just a matter of not rushing it, right? Letting him develop. Like, let's coach him and make sure he's really ready to have success. You don't want to take a rookie and just throw him in if he's not ready. And we felt he was ready to go and play more. And now we have a certain package where they're both in the game at the same time. And there's some games where maybe they'll all be at different positions. But our job is to make sure that we get guys better throughout the season. Like, I think it's really important to understand that, football's still about fundamentals and technique, and our job as coaches is to get these players better. Like, they need to play their best game, the last game we play of the season. So the more they're ready to play, the better they are, the more we'll play them.
Jeff, when you look at Houston, just what are your thoughts on Stroud and just some of the challenges that come with it?
I think Stroud's a really good player. I mean, I was at Ohio State as a coordinator when we recruited him, so I remember him on his visits, and I missed him because I left after a year, and he came in, and I followed them, obviously being a big fan of Ryan and that staff, and saw the success that he had, and then for him to come in last year and have the early success that he did. He sees the game really well. He's really accurate. He has a big arm. He's more athletic than people think, and I keep telling everybody that. He's bigger than you think, too. He's got a big lower body. He has a strong base. He's hard to tackle. He's poised. I think he's a really good player right now, and I think eventually he's going to be, one of the premier guys, if not sooner than later. So I have a ton of respect for him and what Bobby's done on offense. I think Mixon's a really good player, a violent runner, strong, sees it well, big play, explosive guy. I mean, that's the one thing when you turn on their tape. I think they're number one in explosive passes. I'm pretty confident in that. I think obviously we're probably pretty close behind. If we're not one, they're one. And then when he's in the game, there's the explosive run element because he can go. I think both backs are really good players. The line's good, and obviously they have really good receivers. I know Nico's out, but Diggs is a great player, and so are those other guys. So it's one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL with a good running game, a good quarterback, and a good coach. So this is going to be a great challenge for us, and, we're excited for that. One more, no one wants to take it? You sure? All right, thanks, guys.
So was it pretty seamless when Josh went out? You guys just dealt him in there?
Kind of. I would have thought it'd been more, but we had a pre-snap penalty due to some communication issues. But yeah, I mean, he's played a lot of ball there at center. Obviously started a bunch of games there, and then obviously in college, that's where he played a majority of his snaps too. So yeah, I think it was all right.
What do you think about the two edge guys that you're gonna?
Yeah. Are you talking about Hunter and Anderson? Yeah. So obviously Hunter, we know from him being with the Vikings for a long time, really good player. I think he's still showing signs of being an elite pass rusher. And then obviously Anderson's a young guy coming up. I think he has 5 or 5.5 sacks. And this is kind of our first time going against him, obviously. So They both play with great motors. They both can beat you with power and with speed. So those pass rushers are always guys you really got to be on point with your balance and your technique, because they can run you over and they can, put moves on you too. So it's going to be a big challenge, and they're very good. And it's not only them; they're across the board. They got really good rushers. So I think they're one of the big strengths of their defense is their pass rush, especially on third down. So it's going to be a big challenge for us.
Is there an added challenge for the tackles when the edge rushers will switch sides?
Yeah, most teams do that for whatever reason, whether they want to get matchups on certain people or whatever. So, yeah, they have to study both opponents, obviously, and not only just those guys. Again, there's a lot of good pass rushers on their D-line, but, yeah, it definitely is a challenge.
How long have you guys had that Tucker Kraft play and hook?
Not very long. Not very long. It was a Tucker Kraft suggestion a couple weeks ago, so I didn't realize he was good at that, so we tried it out, and you definitely don't want to put it in the first week, but you got to let it marinate and let it get a couple practice reps, and yeah, came through.
With any film from 9-man football where he had done
Yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly. We studied the tape back in the South Dakota high school film.
How did you get Matt to accept it?
I think he had to see it before he was going to believe it, so that's again why we had to do it a few times in practice.
Was it similar for you? And what goes through your mind when your tight end comes up to you and says, yeah, put me under center for...
Well, you get it from all kinds of people, whether it's a DB saying they should be playing running back or receiver or whatever it is. So you're like, oh, okay. And he brought it up before a walkthrough, so we had a couple extra minutes, and Josh was sitting right there. I'm like, all right, take some snaps from Josh, and he did, and it was actually pretty good. So I was like, okay, let's try it out.
Steno, both Matt and Luke said that Jordan Morgan looked like a guy who hadn't played football in a while. Why is it still important to have him take all these snaps if he's going to be rusty?
Well, I think the only way you get out of being rusty is by playing, you know what I mean? So he had some bad snaps, yes, but he also had some good snaps too. So I think you're got to take the good with the bad a little bit. And then as he gets going, back from his injury, I think as we see him play, he's just going to keep improving like most young guys do. So I think it's important just to keep getting him in there and getting him playing time. And he's shown that he can play. So it's not like we're not putting him out there and he's not capable of doing it. He's actually doing a good job for the most part. So, yeah, I'm happy where we're at with the O-line.
Adam, do you see other teams in the NFL with the objective of the rotation at a position in the line like you guys have done at right guard?
Not too often, no. You don't really see that.
Last year you faced a bunch of defensive coordinators who blitz a lot, and just all throughout the schedule. This year it seems like Jordan still get blitzed, and I don't know if it's by guys. Are you seeing more than what you're expecting, or?
No, I think, anytime you play like the Vikings, you're expecting pressure on pretty much every snap, and teams like that. I think one thing that comes with, if you're able to do a good job in pass protection when they're just rushing 4, then the defense has to do something to generate pressure. So that's, why you might see more pressure in certain situations, just to try and generate some pass rush, try and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands fast, things like that. Because a lot of times when you let the quarterback sit in the pocket and be comfortable, there's going to be a lot of holes in the back end for those wideouts.
Had Arizona showed those zero blitzes before?
Yeah, they have a pretty extensive blitz package, especially with Buda Baker and stuff. They like to bring him from all different directions.
Is there something specific about Chris Brooks' skill set that allows you guys to get 2 running backs on the field together?
Yeah, it's kind of, with him, he's dressing every week, so you kind of want to give him a role where he can get involved in the game plan more than just being the third running back. So he's an intelligent player, so we can use him in a lot of different roles. Obviously, if you get the ball in his hands, he can do some good things too. So it's nice just to have a package for a guy to get in there and just get more involved in the game plan. And he's a good blocker, so we used him in different fullback type roles as well.
Were you surprised that all 3 of those neutral zone infractions were blown dead early in the first quarter? Were you thinking that maybe some free plays should come out of that?
Yeah, I was hoping especially I think it was the first or second one. But it, you know, with the refs, sometimes it looks like there's contact or whatever it is if they get offsides a lot. But yeah, we're always hoping that they don't blow it dead so we can possibly get some big plays down the field.
What's the key to turning those into free plays? I know you like the 5 yards, but you want.
Yeah, you know, the center's got to snap the ball, but if they see the O-line move before the center snaps the ball, or if they think there's contact, you know, with a defensive player on an offensive player, then that's when they blow it dead. So it really just depends on how quickly we can get the ball snapped when the guy's in the neutral zone.
It's only been a few practices, but impressions of Fitzpatrick?
He's actually looked good. Yeah, he looked good. A very intelligent guy in the meeting room, but he runs well, he catches well. I think it's only going to be a matter of time before he, you know, gets a bigger role in our offense for sure.
You guys good?
Cool. Thanks, guys. See you.